Recognizable sites in the city of Berlin, but the history of this city is a complex one. It's been almost a 50-year military presence in the city of Berlin, and during this week we're going to show you why the drawdown of this military community is so unique.
The United States Army moved into Berlin, or marched into Berlin, in 1945, 4th of July, 1945, a very significant day in our history. We came in as victors, and we occupied the city.
Under the Four Powers Agreement of 1945, the United States, Great Britain, France, and the Soviet Union all controlled one sector of the city, the Soviet Union controlling the eastern half, while the other three divided up the western half. This agreement fell apart in 1946, and the Soviet Union completely sealed off the city, shutting down all access to Berlin except by air.
General Clay recommended an airlift, and the airlift was successful. Went for about 400 some odd days. About 2.5 million tons of goods came into the city. It was sufficiently successful that they lifted the blockade.
After the airlift, the Cold War intensified, with Berlin a barometer of East-West relations. In 1961, the situation got even worse, with the East Germans building a wall around their portion of the city, allegedly to keep out Western imperialism. U.S. presidents often spoke at the Berlin Wall, a sign of solidarity with the people of West Berlin. President Kennedy made his famous Ich bin ein Berliner speech in 1963, and in 1989, President Reagan visited the still divided city and told Russian President Gorbachev,
"Open this gate." Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Following year, this became an unbelievable reality. The wall was down, and after 45 years, the city was reunited, East and West becoming one. With the end of the Cold War, the U.S. military presence also changed. With the unification of Germany and Berlin being named the new capital in 1992, it was announced all military would leave the city. So now it's time to leave Berlin, a unique city with a unique history. A transition that's going to be easier for some than others. Reporting from Berlin, Germany, Sergeant Kelly Rowe, AFN News.
Tomorrow night, Sergeant Rowe looks at the relationship the armies had with the people of Berlin.
The U.S. Army has been in Berlin since July 1945. In that 49 years, the mission has changed from that of an occupying force after World War II to that of a peacekeeping army in 1990. And when the wall came down, it was time to take another look at things.
The SINC at the time thought that we ought to transition from a unit that was organized for city defense, which was a heavy light organization, to a light air transportable contingency force. And we did that. And as we did that, we deployed a battalion to Turkey. We deployed a unit to Kenya. We deployed, as you know, a unit to Macedonia, which just recovered. And we continue to deploy folks around, and it's been a very successful operation.
And one of the reasons for the successes of the military in Berlin is the unique relationship between the Army and the Berliners themselves.
When you wall a group of folks in for 50 years, you either come out of that loving each other or hating each other. And we came out of it loving each other. And the Berliners have a very, very special place in their heart for the American soldier. And they'll do anything to take care of American soldiers. And they do a tremendous number of things. So the Berliners themselves, the district mayors, the governing mayor, just done a tremendous amount to take care of our soldiers and their families as we've deployed and as we're getting ready to deactivate and move out of the city.
The loving relationship between the Berliners and the Americans is evident in Zellendorf, where many of the soldiers call home. And it just won't be the same when they're gone.
I think we will see it will be a special feeling when the non-American soldiers will be in our city and will be here in Zellendorf. We lived together about a whole lot of years. You know, with Americans at two schools here, children garden, sports places, sports halls, a swim hall, a library, a cinema, and some other places too. And when they are leaving Berlin and no soldier will be here, it will be a special feeling. We have a lot of good friends here, and we will miss them.
It won't be easy ending this unique 50-year relationship, but both the city of Berlin and the U.S. Army will do it with class. Reporting from Berlin, Germany, Sergeant Kelly Rowe, AFN News.
Tomorrow night, Sergeant Rowe shows us one aspect of Berlin Brigade training. The 51st Combat Support Hospital in Frankfurt, Germany, which will no longer offer inpatient care after June 3rd of this year, held its last retiree health fair recently. Judith Williams has more.
The U.S. Army Hospital in Frankfurt has been providing health care to the military for decades. But now with its scheduled closure, retirees in the greater Frankfurt area are having to learn what their options are. They came for immediate medical services, but also to explore the question, what are my choices for health care now?
What do you mean, what choices? Yeah, we have no choices, so to speak. We stay here, we have to go to German physicians, which we do. We have a very good German physician where we live, and we are very thankful to her.
I'm a veteran of World War II, a veteran of Korea, a veteran of Vietnam, and all of the retirement people that went through the service and all that. I'm sure there's a lot of retirees think the same way I do. We just think that the government is just deserters. That's all.
I've been coming to this facility, well, even before I retired.